Hello and welcome to episode 30 in the Right podcast. Today, it's just me sharing the audio version of my recent case study, a productivity improvement case study for content creators and writers. This is the case study of how I beat content creation laziness and had my best year ever in 2017. So we're going to go into two parts in this podcast. The first part is the productivity improvement case study of what got done, also known as the Epic 2017 Goal Accomplishment Timeline. Then I'll be discussing part two, what you really want to know. How the heck did I stay that productive in 2017? I'm going to give you the number one reason I got incredibly productive and how I trained myself habit behavior. And lastly, I'm going to go into 18 small but hugely important life-changing tips for a more productive environment, down to your daily habits and your office life and your tools. Hello and welcome to the Right Podcast, your source for inspiration in content writing, marketing, and strategizing. Every week, I come on and share entrepreneurial stories, online writing tips, content strategy help, and more to impact your life and habits as a content marketer. Welcome to the show. Ready? Let's dive in. This is the shorter half, part one, my productivity improvement case study. So here's exactly what went down in my books. That's a pun because I wrote a book in 2017. So the short list is, first of all, I launched and I created a comprehensive 75 video curriculum certification course. And I was able to launch it, market it, and end the year with 34 students in the course. Next, I wrote and published a 340-page book from scratch based on the course materials. I also took on my first ever real speaking gig, did live streaming for the first time on Facebook, and did my first webinars. I also led my content agency, Express Writers, to 20% growth and heightened efficiency. And I hired 20 new team members out of over 2,000 tested candidates. I also published 70 blogs, 9 podcasts, and over 45 guest blogs. I went and traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, where I went to CM World for the first time. I came home and I was inspired to YouTube more, so I filmed 6 videos for a themed show, The Content Marketers Cafe, in the next few months, and those videos earned us over 1,100 views and even brought us some leads for my content agency. In my home life, I'm married with a 3-year-old toddler, so that kept me busy as well. If you want to learn more about the various things that I did to create a course, all the way from researching the industry to surveying key members of my audience in the industry, putting together the outline, who I hired to help me produce videos, writing, scripting, audio recording, all that good stuff, you can go read all of that in my case study at bit.ly/Julia's Productivity Case Study. So we're going to skip that in this audio stream, but be sure to go read that if you want to get an in-depth look at exactly how I put together all of these things from my book to my course to YouTube to speaking gigs, etc. So without further ado, we're going to jump into part two. And in this part, I'm going to give you the number one reason I got super productive last year. And I'm going to talk about habit behavior for a little bit. And I'm also going to give you 18 tips that I rely on for a more productive environment. And keep in mind, I work from home. So these things apply to a home office environment. And you can apply them really to anywhere you work. So let's jump into that. So the number one reason I got super productive in 2017 and had my most accomplishment-filled year ever was all in the habit behavior that happened for me in this year. It was during the rigorous process of creating a 75 video curriculum out of nothing with a set deadline that I broke my old habits and I formed new productive habits. So have you ever heard that you can form a habit in 21 days? That's actually a myth. There's studies that have been done that show that on average, it takes more than 2 months before a new behavior becomes automatic. It takes 66 days at least, and that can really vary depending on the behavior, the person, and the circumstances. And a myth that you might have heard as well is that if you mess up once, you can go back on everything. That's also not true. In studies, it has been proven that it really doesn't matter if you mess up every now and then. So taking a 2-month period to complete a project and then teach yourself a new schedule, commit to it, can truly impact and reshape your productivity. But I'm going to warn you how hard those 2 months can be. And for me, some of those days felt a little bit like I was about to birth a baby. It was really hard. It was super difficult. There were times when I just wanted to sleep in. I wanted to ignore my hateful alarm clock. I wanted to stay up late because there was a new show on Netflix. And I had to push through and break past all of those barriers. It's the easiest thing to do when the going gets hard is to stop. But if you can push through this 2-month period and teach yourself a new schedule and finish that project you've always wanted to finish, you're truly going to emerge with a more productive version of yourself. And I was really surprised how much this happened for me. It was a permanently new self. And yes, I still have moments of weakness or, I'll just take a few days off. But what I see today is that my habits are significantly changed. I get much more done in a day, and I'm lapsing less and less. So this is not just implementing a productivity fad for a short amount of time. This is the way to really teach yourself a new habit. So my course creation process, which was buckled into a non-negotiable deadline that I announced to the world and published in my waitlisted sales page, couldn't back down from, was exactly the behavior teaching I needed to kick my content laziness to the curb and truly, really give me the productivity improvement that has lasted in my system now for more than 6 months. So becoming my most productive self happened in the process of creating my course. Day in and day out, inside 2 months, I got 75 lessons, outlined, researched, written from nothing. I created the rough visuals that my designer turned into perfected, finalized ones. Then I recorded and edited audio streams for each of those 75 videos. And finally, put together audio and images in a flowing video format. But if you can push through this 2-month period and teach yourself a new schedule and finish that project you've always wanted to finish, you're truly going to emerge with a more productive version of yourself. And I was really surprised how much this happened for me. It was a permanently new self. And yes, I still have moments of weakness or, I'll just take a few days off. But what I see today is that my habits are significantly changed. I get much more done in a day, and I'm lapsing less and less. So this is not just implementing a productivity fad for a short amount of time. This is the way to really teach yourself a new habit. So my course creation process, which was buckled into a non-negotiable deadline that I announced to the world and published in my waitlisted sales page, couldn't back down from, was exactly the behavior teaching I needed to kick my content laziness to the curb and truly, really give me the productivity improvement that has lasted in my system now for more than 6 months. So becoming my most productive self happened in the process of creating my course. And because I am truly not a morning person, I will sleep in past all my alarms if I could. I got accountability. And that was hugely important to me actually getting up at 5 a.m. and making this happen. So now that you know about my habit behavior process that occurred in 2017, which was truly transformative for my productivity and has lasted past that final project that I completed, I'm going to go into 18 tips, which are really specific, actionable tips you're going to be able to use immediately for a more productive environment, better daily habits, and then various tools that you can use. First, know that your work environment matters and that you truly need dedicated space. This is super important. Don't just sit down to work anywhere. Plan where you sit for heightened productivity. What you sit in and where you sit at makes all the difference. That's my first and most important tip. And once your mind knows this, everything else gets easier. Number 2, what to sit in and where to sit at. I recommend a yoga ball chair and an adjustable desk. For writers, creators, this can even be, copywriters, designers, video editors. When it comes to sitting down for that content creation time, I highly recommend sitting in a GAM balance ball chair and then sitting at an adjustable desk. So the GAM yoga ball chair can act as an exercise to strengthen your core. And the adjustable desk is great if you want to change it up, stand for a while, heighten your desk, instead of just sit in one spot when you're there for those long creation hours. So go to my link, bit.ly/Julia's productivity case study to actually see links on Amazon to these products. That's where I got them. They're super affordable for what you get, which is super high quality. So be sure to go and check that out if you want to grab the Amazon links for those products. Number 3, your work environment should have natural lighting. It's very important to work in a well-lit environment, and I'm not talking about a super bright fluorescent office light. Those can actually give you headaches. There's been studies on light bulbs that contain mercury, so you want to watch out for unnatural light. I'm more talking about outdoor light, so you want to roll up your blinds, let that sun in. And I have 2 giant windows that are basically the entire right wall of my office. And I try to work against those windows, not with the sunlight in my direct line of vision, but in my parallel view. And this really enhances my mood process. There's something there in the natural bright light coming in that really boosts my productivity. And there have been scientific studies behind that show the importance of natural light. Number 4, get a favorite spot for secondary seating on those slow creativity days. So I recommend a secondary place to sit and work. This is to jumpstart your creativity on those slow days when you don't feel very motivated to sit on something like your yoga ball chair. So I have a small office couch that I transition to when I need more of that comfortable sit for a thought process, or those days when I just need to sit a little longer with coffee before I start to work. I also have a go-to favorite coffee shop that I will jump in the car and just head to if I really can't work in my office. So I really like Panera Bread. There's a quiet spot in the back that I work at that has a wall plug, and it's just a 50-minute drive up the road. So think about secondary seating to help jumpstart your slower creativity days. Number 5. Invest in fast tech. Do not use slow tech. I'm dead serious. When I upgraded to a Mac, which was over 5 years ago, it made the world of difference in my content creation speed. And before that, you have to know that I was on a Windows PC and I was truly unwilling to convert to Mac, since the time I was 12 years old and on my first computer. So I converted unwillingly to Mac, and I was in for a shock. I paid over $1,500 for my computer, but I finally had a computer that could keep up with me, and that ended up being more than worth it. So my first ever Mac was the first computer that never froze with my speed. So make the investment in a Mac, take the time to learn that tool, and you will thank me later. Number 6, increase your typing speed and know your computer hacks. So my husband, and probably everyone else, if they were as honest, cannot sit next to me when I type. That's because I type super fast, and that seems to create an annoyingly loud version of clacking, according to my husband. So I recently tested my speed a few days ago, and I am at 97 words per minute, which is 98.15% faster than everyone else. So the only downside is that I'm loud when I type because my fingers are flying. But this is how I get a lot of content written fast. So if you're looking to type faster, which will definitely speed up your content creation, here are my top 3 tips. And this is merged into our total list of 18 tips. Number 7, learn how to type the right way. So I've been typing since I was 9. When I was 9, luckily, I learned how to type the right way, with your fingers in what's called a home position. So I was homeschooled on a word processor, and it took me weeks to get this down and then a couple months to feel comfortable and then speed up. So hopefully you're already typing correctly, but if not, research this on YouTube and be sure to learn how to type with your fingers in that home position. Number 8, type a lot consistently, and it will get smoother. So the number one way that I learned how to type fast was by typing a lot. I typed out and I wrote tons of content on my computer. You can even practice retyping a really good blog that you enjoyed reading. So the key here by typing a ton is to get your writing flow down to match your typing speed. So the goal is that your thoughts and your fingers speed up to a point to where you're able to type out a cohesive, flowing sentence without hesitation, and then get into your creative flow at the computer. Number 9, know your keyboard hacks. And I'm talking about shortcut keys here. So don't ever, right click to copy and paste. Use your keyword shortcuts. And that could be the Central and the X, or if you're on a Mac, Command and X. Know your shortcut keys, and I cannot tell you how much faster this makes me when I work with content, and even that's when I'm posting in WordPress, moving around paragraphs in Word or in WordPress. So take time out to learn these hacks. Go look up a list of shortcut keys. You can find them on YouTube, Google, for Mac or Windows. Number 10, make productive habits a part of your day. It is not enough to have a great computer, natural lighting, or an awesome lightning-fast computer. You must make productive daily habits. So here are a few. Number 11, drink more water than you think you should. We're made up of 60% water. Did you know that water energizes your muscles, keeps your skin looking fresh, helps your digestion, absorption, circulation, transportation of nutrients, and then maintains your body temperature? So you can read that and more facts about drinking water on WebMD. The rule of thumb is you want to drink a half gallon per day, or 8 by 8, which is 8-ounce glasses. So keep a water glass at your desk and stop to drink water consistently. Number 12, make time for exercise. Regular exercise makes your heart, your cardiovascular system stronger, and it makes your lungs work better. Sitting at our desks all day without exercise breaks actually makes our bodies very weak. And remember that exercise releases those endorphins, which energize your mental state, boosting your creativity. So how much exercise should you get? The Department of Health and Human Services recommends these exercise guidelines: at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity every week. Or you can do a combination of both. So for me, that falls into 20 minutes of yoga a day, which is just under 10 minutes under the 150-minute minimum per week. So it can be really easy to get the exercise in if you commit to fitting just a little time window in every single day. Number 13, eat clean and drink nutritional drinks. I haven't had mainstream brand soda in years, and I avoid processed, unhealthy foods as much as possible. Instead, I eat clean. That means salads, that means organic foods packed with nutrients, and I eat that throughout the day. My go-to brain food drink is a cold-pressed juice, and downing a whole juice can actually take me from down and lacking creativity to up and running with a fresh mind again. And why do you want cold press? That basically refers to the process that the juice is made with. So cold press is made with a hydraulic press using thousands of pounds of pressure to extract the most amount of healthy liquids from those fresh fruits and vegetables, which means the maximum nutrients are kept inside that final bottle of juice that you buy and drink. They're more expensive, but I turn to juice, especially cold pressed. Instead of coffee in the afternoon, I want to avoid that unwanted buzz I get from too much coffee, and this type of juice acts almost as good as caffeine to boost my brain. So my favorite brand is currently Suja, which you can get in almost any grocery store. Number 14, set deadlines for your projects. Give yourself deadlines for everything and then work to meet them, if not beat them. And if you can't beat your deadlines and you really struggle with that, meaning that you can't be on time and you can't finish early, then you need to listen to the next tip. Number 15, get up earlier and get an accountability partner. So these 2 points go hand in hand. I know they're technically 2 that I put into 1 point, but these points put together can really impact your life. So to really make your projects happen, if you're struggling to do that on your own, then you need an accountability partner. And on top of that, you need to start rising earlier, and it'll make all the difference. So these 3 specific reasons, deadline setting, getting up earlier, and then getting an accountability partner, created that winning trifecta that actually helped me finish my course last year on top of a book, on top of videos, blogs, etc. So midway through May of last year, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to hit my June deadline for finishing the course. I actually had to take a week off because my kid and I both got sick, and I just didn't feel too inspired when I came back the next week. I was dragging my feet crazy. The same thing had happened when I published my book in 2016. So I realized that I had to face this and figure out how to get on top of that feet dragging feeling. And I got really worried. I was wondering, how the heck am I going to get my course done on time? And I had to get my butt in gear fast because I'd set a deadline and I told the world about it. So I decided to go and get accountability. I asked my friend Kelly, who is also entrepreneurial minded, if she was interested in earlier mornings so we could both get on top of our projects. And she immediately said yes. So we decided to check in with each other via text at 5:15 a.m. And I vividly remember that first 5:15 a.m. morning when Kelly texted me. And you have to know, I am not a morning person. So don't kid yourself right now. I am not some early riser that tends to get up before the sun because I like to. In fact, my typical process is to sleep in without an alarm. I love sleep. I am one of those people that will try to sleep 10 hours a night if I'm allowed to. So the first 5:15 a.m. morning was downright awful. My alarm went off. My friend checked in with me, but it was because of her text that simply read, "Are you up?" that I got up. And it was that simple. Now, I stumbled into the closet. I got dressed. I stumbled into the kitchen. I made my morning tonic, which is apple cider vinegar and water drink. I stumbled into the office and I was squinting at my computer screen. And I had to get through the next few feelings, which was sitting in front of my computer, just not feeling up to a 5:15 a.m. writing session. But I blinked. I finished that drink I made for myself. I walked around the room. I sat back down. It was 5:25 a.m. when I started writing. It was still insanely hard. I pushed through. Then something happened. Everything got easier. My mind started working better. And I realized that I just needed to break through. And by 7 a.m., I had written 3 course lessons. These were beautiful pieces of content that I was really proud about. They were well researched. Best of all, they were finished. So I repeated that the next morning and then the next. I got off track a couple of times. Both my friend and I, we caught movies with our husbands. We stayed up too late, but we always got back on track and it got easier. And those 2 habits, accountability from a friend on top of getting up early, were definitely the biggest reasons I got my course done and completed on time last year. Number 16, put on some music, some concentration music. You're going to love this. There is, in fact, a tiny little secret I have up my sleeve to getting more content done and written inside of a day. And most of the time when I mention this tip, most people haven't heard about it. And this tip is huge. It can be the difference of me stopping early for some Netflix relaxation or pushing through to get that big blog finally finished and wrapped up before I head into the weekend. So the difference is called a 3-hour focus music reel, which is published on YouTube, also called study music, alpha waves, calming music, concentration music. So this 3-hour reel of focus music actually calms my senses. It enables and boosts my thought process. And if I put headphones in and listen to it, it can drown out everyone around me and help me write like I'm on fire. It's good content that I write too. It's not just deadline-oriented content, so my brain is working. And I really think that this focus music boosts my brain. So I definitely recommend trying it. It might change your concentration levels in a really big way, just like it did for me. Number 17. This truly applies to entrepreneurs. You need to get support in the day-to-day of running a business. So if you run your own business, and even if it's a writing agency, you need to consider how and where you need to invest in support. Support can change your life. There is no way on earth that I could do everything I do on the content production side without my team. This is a true story. I first built Express Writers as a freelancer to handle my own content creation when I just couldn't handle any more writing on my own. It's true, I built my company for me and I still use it for that purpose. And today I consistently work one-to-one with 2 very trained select writers in my team of over 40 writers to help me produce my specific blog content. And I'll come up with all the topics, outlines, research the keyword, publish dates, figure out pitching my guest blog editors, get all the influencer collaborations up and running. I'll write all the emails, schedule them out. But my writers really help back me up with all of that content production side. Number 18, remember that busy isn't always productive. So audit your actions and adjust them to get more productive. So this is our last point. I'm going to end our case study with a reminder that busy is not the same as productive. And be sure that you're aware of the differences between the two. So make sure that you're not just sitting at the computer spinning your wheels and multitasking to a point to where you have too many things going and you can't focus on the most important things. Focus on being productive rather than busy. Thank you so much for listening to episode 30 of the Right Podcast. I hope that you got some inspiration from my productivity case study and those 18 tips for a more productive day as a content creator. I encourage you to pick your top 3 tips and see if you can apply them in your next day. Have you checked out my practical content strategy certification course yet? You can check it out at contentstrategycourses.com. What I do in this course is I help content creators get off the ground and learn high ROI strategy and marketing skills. And you can actually download 5 free lessons from the course at bit.ly/content strategy free course. That's bit.ly/content strategy free course. Be sure to subscribe in iTunes to catch our next episode of the Right Podcast.